Lucy, I'm stuck on these kinesiology practice questions. I understand muscles, but these types of joints are killing me. What even is a gymphysis?
Think of it like a bolt. A gymphysis is the fibrous joint that holds your teeth in their sockets. It's one of the synarthrotic joints, meaning it doesn't move.
Okay, bolt for teeth. Got it. What about the shoulder? That moves in every direction.
That's a diarthrotic joint, specifically a ball and socket. It's the most mobile joint in the body, which also makes it the least stable. The Mblex loves to ask about the degrees of freedom. A ball and socket has 3.
3 degrees. Because it moves in 3 planes? Like the sagittal, frontal, and transverse planes?
Exactly. Now, if I move my arm out to the side away from my body, what plane am I in and what is the action?
Out to the side. That's the frontal plane, and the action is abduction. I remember because you abduct or take away the arm from the midline.
Perfect. Now, tell me about the elbow. When you do a bicep curl, what's the joint type in the lever?
The elbow is a hinge joint. And a bicep curl. That's a third-class lever, right? Because the force, the bicep, is between the joint and the weight in my hand.
Spot on. Most muscles in the body operate as third-class levers. They favor speed and range of motion over pure power.
I'm moving on to muscle contractions now. I keep getting agonist and antagonist mixed up when the movement changes.
Think of it as a play. The agonist is the prime mover. It's the star of the show doing the main work. If you're performing elbow flexion, the biceps brachii is the agonist.
So the antagonist is the bad guy resisting the move?
Not resisting, but lengthening to allow the move to happen. In elbow flexion, the triceps is the antagonist. But what if you're doing elbow extension?
Then it flips. The triceps becomes the agonist and the biceps becomes the antagonist.
You've got it. And don't forget the Synergists. Those are the backup dancers that help the prime mover. Like the brachial is helping the biceps.
And the fixators?
Those are the muscles that stabilize the origin of the agonist so the movement is clean. Like the rotator cuff stabilizing the shoulder while you move your arm.
Kinesiology concepts covered in these conversations: joint classifications, synarthrotic, removable, amphiarthrotic, slightly movable, and diarthrotic, freely movable. Ball and socket joint, multiaxial joint, shoulder/hip with 3 degrees of freedom. Planes of motion, sagittal, forward/back, frontal, side to side, and transverse, rotation. Levers, first, second, and third class. Third class is most common in the body. Muscle roles, agonist, prime mover, antagonist, opposer, synergist, helper, and fixator, stabilizer. The security guard organs.
Lucy, I was stretching the client's hamstrings today, and they just pushed back against me. It was like the muscle had a mind of its own.
It does. That's the proprioceptors at work. You probably triggered the muscle spindle.
Muscle spindle? Sounds like something from a fairy tale.
Ha! I wish. The muscle spindle is a sensory organ that sits inside the muscle belly. Its job is to detect change in length and speed of stretch. If you stretch too fast, it sends a signal to the spinal cord to contract the muscle so it doesn't tear. It's a protective reflex.
Oh, so that's why we stretch slowly? To keep the security guard from waking up?
Exactly. Now, there's another one called the Golgi tendon organ, or toe. That one lives in a tendon, right where the muscle meets the bone.
What does that one do? Does it also make the muscle contract?
Actually, it does the opposite. The toe detects tension. If there is too much tension, the toe tells the muscle to relax and lengthen to prevent the tendon from pulling off the bone. We call that autogenic inhibition.
I'm looking at my notes for muscle contractions. I get isometric, but isotonic has 2 parts that always trip me up.
Think about Jack at the gym. When you do a bicep curl and the weight goes up, the muscle is shortening. What's that called?
That's concentric. The muscle concentrates or gets smaller.
Right. Now, when you slowly lower that weight back down, the muscle is still working to control the fall, but it's getting longer. That's eccentric.
I always thought eccentric just meant weird. So eccentric is lengthening under tension?
You've got it. And if you just hold the weight still in the middle of the move without moving the joint at all, that's isometric, same length, no movement.
Okay, one last thing for today. I read that if I want a muscle to relax, I should contract the muscle on the opposite side. Is that a real thing?
It is. It's called reciprocal inhibition. When the agonist, the muscle you are contracting, turns on, the nervous system automatically sends a signal to the antagonist, the opposite muscle, to relax.
So if my client's hamstrings are super tight, I should ask them to contract their quadriceps.
Exactly. Contracting the quads forces the hamstrings to let go. It's like a neurological tug-of-war where one side has to drop the rope.
Kinesiology concepts covered in these conversations. Muscle spindles detect change in length/speed. Causes contraction, stretch reflex. Golgi tendon organs, toe, detect tension. Causes relaxation, autogenic inhibition. Isotonic contraction, movement happens, includes concentric and eccentric. Isometric contraction, no movement happens. Muscle length stays the same. Reciprocal inhibition, the neurological process where the antagonist relaxes when the agonist contracts. Let's get into the shape of the body. To wrap up kinesiology, Sam needs to understand how posture tells a story about which muscles are short and which are long. Miss Jessica, I was looking at my next client in the waiting room. He's got that hunchback look from staring at a computer all day. My notes say that's Kentucky fascis, right?
You got it. Kentucky fascis is an excessive outward curvature of the thoracic spine. In the Mblex, they'll want to know which muscles are likely tight. What do you think?
Well, if he's hunched forward, his pectoralis major must be short and tight, pulling him in.
Exactly. And his rhomboids and middle trapezius in the back are probably overstretched and weak. Now, what about the opposite? The sway back.
That's lordosis. I remember because lord sounds like someone bowing with their belly sticking out. That's an inward curve of the lumbar spine.
Perfect. In lordosis, the iliopsoas and erector spinae are usually the tight culprits. And don't forget the S curve, scoliosis. That's a lateral or sideways curvature of the spine. I'm reading about muscle fiber types. Why do I need to know the difference between slow twitch and fast twitch for a massage? Because it changes how you treat the muscle. Think of type I, slow twitch, fibers like a marathon runner. They are red because they have lots of myoglobin and oxygen. They are built for endurance, like your postural muscles. So my erector spinae are mostly type I because they hold me up all day. Spot on. Now, type 2, fast twitch, fibers are like sprinters. They are paler, they tire out fast, but they have huge power. Those are for fight or flight movements. So if I'm doing deep, slow work, I'm affecting those endurance muscles. If I do fast department, I'm waking up the power fibers. One more thing, I always mix up inversion and eversion of the foot. It sounds the same when I'm stressed during a test. Look at your own feet. Turn the sole of your foot inward toward the other foot. That's inversion. Most ankle sprains happen this way. Okay, in for inversion. And turning the sole outward is eversion? Yes. And remember the top and bottom, pointing your toes like a ballerina is plantar flexion, planting the foot, and pulling your toes up toward your shin is dorsiflexion.
The skeleton key. My head is spinning. I'm looking at a skeleton, and I can't remember which bones belong to which group. Axial? Appendicular? It sounds like a different language.
Don't overthink it. Think of the axial skeleton as your axis or your center. It's the skull, the vertebral column, the ribs, and the sternum. Its main job is protection.
Okay, center is axial. So the appendicular skeleton must be the appendages?
Exactly. Your arms, legs, and the girdles that attach them, the shoulder, pectoral, girdle and the hip, pelvic, girdle. Appendicular is for movement.
Wait, is the scapula axial or appendicular?
It's appendicular. Even though it's on your back, it's part of the shoulder girdle that moves your arm. The Mblex loves to trick you with that one.
Okay, let's talk movements. I know flexion and extension, but what about the weird ones like in the wrist or the forearm?
Let's start with the forearm. Hold your hand out like you're carrying a bowl of soup. That's supination. Now, turn it over so the palm faces down. That's pronation.
Supination. I like that. And what about the wrist? Moving the hand toward the thumb side?
That's radial deviation, because it moves toward the radius bone. Moving it toward the pinky side is ulnar deviation.
And the thumb? It has its own special move, right?
Yes. Touching your thumb to your fingertips is opposition. It's what allows us to grip tools and massage bottles. Okay. Samir. Let someone else learn. My notes keep talking about origins and insertions. How do I tell them apart without memorizing 600 muscles? The origin is the anchor. It's usually the part of the muscle that stays still and is closer to the center of the body, proximal. The insertion is the action, end. It's the part that moves and is usually further away, distal. So when a muscle contracts, the insertion moves toward the origin? You nailed it. And if you're looking for where they attach, look for bony landmarks. A tuberosity or a trochanter is usually a big, rough bump where a strong tendon attaches, like the greater trochanter on the femur.
Category: Mblex terms to nobens, axial, center versus appendicular limbs. Bony landmarks: foramen, hole, fossa, depression, process, projection. Joints: hinge, elbow, ball and socket, hip, pivot, neck C1-C2. Planes: sagittal, flexion/extension, frontal, abduction/adduction, transverse, rotation. Forearm: supination, palm up versus pronation, palm down. Scapula: protraction, abduction versus retraction, adduction.
I was reading a SOAP note from a physical therapist. It said the client had limited ROM in the frontal plane. Does that mean they can't look forward?
Common mistake. The frontal, coronal, plane actually divides the body into front and back. Think of it like a sheet of glass pressed against your chest and back. The only way you can move is side to side.
Oh. So abduction and adduction happen in the frontal plane?
Exactly. When you abduct, take away from the midline, or adduct, add back to the midline, you are moving along that side-to-side plane. The Mblex will ask, in which plane does shoulder abduction occur? The answer is always frontal.
Okay. And what about the clapping motion? If I'm swinging my arms forward to clap?
That's the sagittal plane. It divides the body into left and right. This is where flexion and extension happen. If you are walking, running, or nodding yes, you're in the sagittal plane.
And the last one is transverse, right? Like a magician sawing someone in half.
Morbid, but accurate. The transverse, horizontal, plane is for rotation. Shaking your head no or twisting your waist happens here.
If a client can't lie on her stomach or her back because of a recent surgery, I told her I'd put her inside lying, but the intake form calls it lateral recumbent.
It's the same thing, Sam. Lateral means side, and recumbent means lying down. You'll also hear it called the Sims position sometimes in medical settings.
Wait, let me make sure I have my lying down term straight for the test. Prone, lying face down on the belly. Supine, lying face up on the spine. And lateral recumbent, lying on the side.
Perfect. And if I tilt the head of the table up so the client is sitting at a 45-degree angle?
That's Fowler's position. We use that for clients with breathing issues or acid reflux. My brain hurts. I got your back, Aaron. Adduction. I know it means moving toward the midline. But what about horizontal adduction?
Think of a chest fly at the gym. Your arms are already out to the side, abducted, and you bring them together in front of your chest. Since you are moving toward the midline but staying parallel to the floor, it's horizontal adduction.
And that happens in the transverse plane, not the frontal plane, Because it's a rotational style movement at the shoulder.
You're getting too smart for me, Olga. That's exactly right. The plane changes because the starting position changed.
When getting ready to assess a client's shoulder, I know I need to check their range of motion, but I always forget which order to go in.
Always remember the golden rule: active, then passive, then resisted. We call it the APR check.
Right. Active ROM is when the client moves the limb themselves. That tells me if they have the strength and if it hurts when they use their own muscles.
Exactly. Then you do passive ROM. You move the limb for them while they relax. This helps you feel the end feel, like if a joint is hitting a bone or if it's soft tissue stopping the move.
And resisted ROM is when I have them hold still while I try to move them. That's for testing the strength of the specific muscle, right?
Spot on. Now, the Mblex might throw a curveball at you about isokinetic movement. Do you know what that is?
Is that like isotonic?
Close, but different. Isokinetic means the speed of the movement stays exactly the same, no matter how much force the person applies. You usually need a special machine for this. It's different from isotonic, where the weight stays the same, and isometric, where nothing moves at all.
So, kinetic for speed. Isokinetic equals constant speed. I'll make sure to add that to my notes.